Hi everyone, it's me Jo, and today I have some very exciting news. I will be going live with Urban Decay and creating a wearable pride look. Now, I wanted to take the opportunity to partner with a brand like Urban Decay to really pay tribute to one of my icons. About 10 years ago now, I created a look for another brand and I was meant to be in their campaign images. But for some reason, whether it be just a little bit too early to put a trans person in the campaign or what, I never made it to the final thing. And I was about 18, I think at the time. It was 10 years ago, so maybe 18, turning into 19. I'm not sure how long ago. But it was a really long time ago, and I worked really, really hard to do a Pater Sato image. So a lot of the contour images that I've done over the past and a lot of the work I've done with colour has been about airbrush, because I love those illustrations that were famous. And you guys have seen the magazine covers, you've seen all the pictures, you've seen the Grace Jones images. They're just some of the most iconic images, and they link art with beauty in a way that I think my work is intrinsically inspired from. So I wanted to take this opportunity to recreate 4 Pater Sato images. I chose to create the butterfly sketch, which was my first interpretation. I wanted to show a different way of using eyeshadows. So using all Urban Decay products, I layered them. So there's a different way of blending eyeshadows. It's almost like when you apply glass paint and the colours are more saturated. It's kind of like when you layer something translucent again and again and again and again, and you build up colours and it looks like a butterfly wing. This was one of my favourite images to play with, and I did 2 images. The shape was slightly different in each one, but I thought they were really, really beautiful ways to show a different style. So I actually mixed mediums. I took a picture of some paper to get some texture and imported it into my computer. With my computer, I was able to merge the picture of the paper with the actual images I took and create something that's secondary to makeup. It's digital creation. And I think a lot of people found me from makeup videos, but they don't actually know that I was a painter before I ever did makeup. And my main medium was digital. I like to actually work with digital airbrush and things like that to really construct the images step by step. So I hadn't got an opportunity really to partner with a brand at this level and create something that was really different. So I really wanted to go home with this and do something that was special. The next image I wanted to create was the Grace Jones image. Now, the Grace Jones image was something that I'd always had in the back of my mind. And many years ago, I shot a coffee table book with Gothra Lozano, an amazing makeup artist and artist and photographer. And I was painted blue, and I did the blue look then. Now, it was kind of a spin on some of the images I think people like Nina Hagen had done, because I was doing transformations at the time, and Nina Hagen was someone that also did a transformation series. So it was kind of like a play to that, but my kind of goal when I did that makeup was to do the Grace Jones Pater Sato images. So I thought, do you know what, I need to do those images, and I couldn't get a ball cap in time because I did all of these in the same day. So what I did is actually put a piece of plastic across my hairline and then use the colours that I painted on the cheek in that section, so it actually looks like it's one image. It was really fun to do, and it just took a little bit of kind of like cleaning up the edges and just taking down the metallics, because when I did these as videos I wanted to share the metallics. Then when I did them as photos I thought, oh, that's silly, I should have done them as matte, because sometimes mattes can look a little bit more opaque. The next image I wanted to do was actually the full-on fabulous mountain image where they've got kind of like people in portrait looking up to the sky in latex gear. And I tried to do this, but I couldn't get the look right, because the piece I had, which was just placed over the chin, it was more structural than a piece of latex, so I couldn't really get it to look like what I wanted to without actually photoshopping it, the shapes and things like that, which I didn't want to do for this project. So I gave up on that look despite doing the makeup. The next image I wanted to do was the magazine cover where the face almost looks like the moon, and I wanted it to be kind of like my introduction piece, because I thought it would be a great opportunity to mix typography so I could say what the idea was. So I put the text in differently, and I also recreated the butterflies in a sort of, it's that really annoying, it's like rayon, but it's made of paper. I can't remember what the correct term of it is. It's a form of paper using crafts. So I cut out some butterfly shapes and used that within the picture, and then I used a splatter brush and imposed that over the top. And it's basically kind of like a collage but taken of photographs. So I really love that picture because it's going to be available on my website, and hopefully I'll make them into posters. Finally, the masterclass of Pater Sato art is the op art look that I was so eager to recreate, and this was one of the biggest inspirations, and I actually did a tutorial on this on JH Cosmetics way back when. So I created this look and I actually pieced together each of the shapes. I changed it slightly just to create more of my own spin on it, but I hope you guys like it. So those are my 4 images. If I have time, I will finish off the 5th, which is the mountain one, but I'm not really sure how I want to go forwards with that because it's a different shape and they all look like one piece. So I'm not sure how I'm going to go with it, but there you go. And thank you, Urban Decay, for taking the time to ask me to do this look. And I will be going further with their live and giving you a wearable pride look. I thought when I kind of woke up today and saw it was so hot to do something a little bit more simple than what I had in mind. I wanted to do a colourful eye, but I thought, my God, if I'm going to be really hot, it's probably going to look a little bit more wishy-washy than I hope. So let's go in and see what happens. Hopefully it'll be an oil spill lip, and yeah. Hello, am I live? Let's have a look. I'm very confused. Let's have a look. Hi guys, are we live? Let's have a quick check if we are. This is very exciting for me, guys. Thank you so much all for tuning in, and thank you to Urban Decay. So are we live? I think we are. So let's have a look. If I share it to my own page, forgive me if I start speaking in sync. Let's have a look. I'm very excited to be here. So thank you. Share now. I think we're done. Right. Okay. Hi, everyone. How are you all doing? It is absolutely absurd. It is so hot today. So I kind of built a jungle into my room so it will represent everything. Hi guys. Oh, I can see now. I can see. Hello. So I was thinking about all the amazing looks I could do. Hey. Hi people. And I really wanted to do something that was really celebratory of Pride, that really gave me some inspiration. So I'll talk a little bit about me first, and I'll go into that actually. So hi everyone, my name is Joseph Harwood. The seagulls and the birds and the bees are buzzing. So if you hear anything in the background, it is the wildlife. Please forgive me. But my name is Joseph Harwood, and I was a very early social media creator, I guess you could say. I started online when I was very young, and I began to kind of get my foot in the door as a model when I was about 15. So when I came back to England, because I was working in Tokyo, I was told by one of the photographers I was working out there with that I should do makeup full time. So I thought, oh my God, how am I going to do makeup full time? Because I've got no experience. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I kept on trying. So I thought, you know what, YouTube is a platform for me to explore my ideas. And some of the very early inspirations I did from that Japanese trip was Pater Sato, who was an incredible illustrator. And I started to build a platform, and I created my own aesthetic. So I was very much female presenting when I went to school, and also when I started to do my YouTube blog. So everyone didn't know what they were getting. It was very early on. It was before we talking about trans stuff in the mainstream. And I just wanted to do something that was different, and I couldn't find things. I couldn't find Candy Darling or Grace Jones or the people that inspired me or I could relate to who were androgynous. So I started to build my audience, and I started to do celebrity transformations and partner with big brands, and there was no other LGBT people doing this. It was kind of an innovation at the time. And I started to find it a bit kind of like temperamental, because sometimes I think this is such an amazing way to create a connection with people, and other times I think, wow, this is really hard because I can do the makeup better, if not just as great as everyone doing it, but sometimes brands were a bit apprehensive for me to actually work with them. So I kept on thinking, how can I get my name out there further if I can't do it the conventional way? And Simon Cowell started to advertise a competition online called the U Generation Competition, which was a year-long contest based on Britain or America's Got Talent. And basically what it does is it was kind of like sections each month. So one section was art, one section was singing, and they would do like this 1,000 people entry each category, and then you compete to be the winner of each category. So I entered as a makeup artist. I entered with a gender transformation. So I spoke about how to change facial anatomy, and it was really meant to be about trans people being seen. And the wonderful people at Pixie Woo actually were the judges, and they chose me as the winner of the contest. So I got this massive cash prize, and at the time they were really shocked that they'd chosen me, I think, because the contest went down. There's no contest left online, so no one can see any of the work I did. But you might know the Little Mix accent challenge because they did that Jamaican accent and it went viral, and that was the after show. So it was a really strange time. And after that kind of like whole hullabaloo of that, I thought, you know what, YouTube has been such an incredible journey for me, but it's still really hard for me to get seen. I'm going to take a back step. So for the last 2 years, what I've been doing is I've been working behind the scenes. I retrained to be a biochemist and I learned how to make makeup in the lab. And I went out there and I started to partner with startup brands. And a lot of the startup brands were very new. And one of them was called Jecca Black, who is under L'Oreal Innovations. And I designed some products that were for trans people. And it was the first time a trans-led campaign came out. And it was amazing. Last year was such an amazing accomplishment for me. So this year, when Urban Decay reached out to me to do something, I thought, you know what, I'm going to take this opportunity to say thank you for seeing me. I'm going to produce some amazing art pieces, and I'm also going to do something that people can relate to, and maybe can talk a little bit about my story and my inspirations. So my whole intention today was to come online and to give you guys this sort of like mad, colourful look. But my God, it's the heat wave day. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to flip the script because I was going to do colourful eye and nude lip. I think I'm going to do a kind of like a graphic-y nude eye, kind of similar to the images I created, and an oil spill lip. So we'll see how it goes. And as I go on, I can answer you guys' questions. I can talk a little bit about things if you wanted some extra info. But I'm really excited and privileged to do this today. So thank you guys. And let me know how you guys, tell me some stories about your lockdown experience while I go. Right, so should we get in with some makeup and I'll read some comments? Ooh, I am glowing, but through no choice of my own. That is the weather. Thank you, guys. So let's go in with some moisturizer. So I basically go in with some Kiehl's moisturizer. I just prepped and primed the skin. Next thing I'm going to be doing is the Complexion Primer by Urban Decay, obviously. Do you guys absolutely love a primer? I think this is the type of day that everyone needs a primer. It's just so hot. And what I really wanted to do today was kind of do like a matte skin, but I don't know how that's going to work out. We're going to have to see how it goes. So when I go in with a kind of creative look, I tend to start off by mapping the face out into sections. So if I'm doing something abstract or colourful, I'll block each section out. So then I can do it bit by bit by bit by bit, and I know it's not going to be a bit wishy-washy by the end of it. So that's my theory. But when I'm doing things like a more wearable look, the way I kind of go into it is thinking about problems I want to fix. So with my skin, I'm really freckly, as you guys might be able to see on camera, and I like to show them off. I'm trying to get more confident. I don't know if you guys have had that kind of thing where you grow up and you're like, oh my God, I hate my freckles. I've hated my freckles my whole life, and I used to wear like really thick foundation, and I'm trying to be like embracive of all my kind of unique qualities, and I don't know, maybe it's because I got older and maybe I'm just getting more confident in myself or whatnot, but there you go. So I'm just going to add something to my lip. You can use something like a moisturizer or Vaseline or something like that just to prep it. So if we put any products on our face, it's not going to stick to our lips. Now, I've got all my crazy brushes today. I love all the mini brushes you get in all the Urban Decay palettes because they're all synthetic, which is so good for cream lay down. If you guys play with brushes long term, you realise that some of the brushes that you think are going to last forever do not, because the hairs are made of goat fibres. The Urban Decay ones last forever. So I'm going to start with a little bit of foundation it's the All Nighter foundation, and I'm wearing 3.5. Now, I'm normally mega tan by now, but this year I haven't gone that tan. So it's a bit peculiar for me because I was expecting to be around the 4 or 5, but 3.5 seems to work. So let me see who's actually talking. Victoria, hey Becca, hey Danielle. What's your tips for anyone struggling to find their identity with makeup? I think with me, I was always interested in people that were a little bit different. So I really liked people that were LGBT as well, but also were like iconic. So I looked at things like Andy Warhol and looked at some of the characters. There's so much like resource out there for people to find, but YouTube is where I started to watch little clips of Candy Darling or Grace Jones interviews or Boy George. And when I saw someone else do something, it allowed me to do something. So I always think like, when you see someone similar to you, you kind of have the confidence to do it yourself. But When I was much younger, I used to be inspired by video games. I used to really, really, really love playing video games. And I thought that the characters were androgynous. I didn't think them as like male or female. And I think a lot of the Japanese games, which kind of led me on this like love path of Japan, I always thought that they painted the faces or digitally made them into 3D shapes that were kind of like this mix between boy and girl. And that was my first kind of connection with someone that looked like me, if you know what I mean, because I didn't look like either when I was growing up. So I always wanted to look like a video game character. So even if I didn't have a specific person that I wanted to base my ideas on, I had like a reference point that was almost like, I don't know how to put it, like I could see myself in that world. So even if it wasn't like me, there was somewhere that I could live in. So I would just create characters and I would become the characters that could live in these 3D worlds. And that was where I started. Do you plan your creative looks on paper first? I actually don't. I try and do things in the moment. I think like a bit of a mad spider web of ideas at all time. So for me, it's not so much that I plan looks out and I think about how I can create something for the first time. I'm more so interested in seeing what will happen in the moment. And quite often I make mistakes, because when you make mistakes, that's how you actually learn. And you can see something that you can do differently next time. Like I used to absolutely hate brow gels because I thought brow gels on me just didn't work. My hairs go down and don't go up. But then I started to play with them and I thought, do you know what? I'm actually getting the hang of playing with different looks more. And when I do things, even if it doesn't work the first time, the second time it will. And you can really learn from those mistakes. So I try and do that. Now I'm just having some concealer. So you guys tell me if there's any broadcast interrupted or any background noise. I can try my best to change it. But I'm just going in with the concealer and I want things to be really bounced back under the eye. When I started to do YouTube videos, everyone used to contour down the sides of the nose, and I wanted to make my nose, which isn't symmetrical, look more symmetrical. So colouring my nose with two brown lines never worked. So what I do is I bring the concealer right up to where I want my nose to sit. And that sort of highlight, indifference, slenderizes the nose and makes it look a little bit more refined. So that was always something that I was very much passionate about when I started on YouTube, because I thought, do you know what, there's going to be other people out there that don't have perfect noses. And I thought, do you know what, if I could do something like that, then hopefully I can leave my mark. And I'm so happy now my videos have been seen so many times, because at the time I didn't think anyone would watch them. And you can find all my channels. I'm Joseph Harwood on everything. And my old YouTube channel, which I haven't posted on for about 3 years now, is full of content. I've got literally, I filmed about 1,500 videos and I have about 200 live. And all of the ones that I've got live, I look a little bit different in each time, and they're all just different. So I'm just using a sponge to blend out slightly what we've laid down. Now, I always overblend with makeup, and it's one of my pet peeves when I look back on my stuff. I always think, oh my God, I went a little bit too far with that. But what you want to do is you want to lay down the product in an even way, and then just make sure the texture of it is smooth. You don't want to take away loads of it, because you're going to defeat the work you've done. So just know that when you're actually applying things. So I'm going to be using the all-nighter in 5.5, and just on the back of my hand I've got a mix already. So I'm starting to build a palette just on my hand, and the way that I've always kind of done this is treating it like paint. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to mix that together so I get a sort of medium, and I start to build up in areas that I want to shade. So when I'm straight on, I kind of want to leave that natural highlight there, but if I just edge it in, it will just shade down and it won't look too harsh. And always remember that when you're applying, you should think about what you want to achieve at the outset, because for me, I want to keep my freckles. So I don't want it to take up too much of my skin and too much coverage. So let's have a look. Did you go to makeup college? I actually didn't go to makeup college. I was very, very much a weird kid because when I was very young, I was asked to do my GCSEs very early. So when I was actually 10 and 11. So my school situation was a bit ahead of itself. And when I actually went to do my GCSEs in a conventional way, I went to university. So I had this weird dichotomy where I wasn't in the class with everyone in my year. And it's always left me a bit disassociated, I think, because I didn't grow up in the same sort of like schooling system. And even when I did go to the normal schools like lessons, it was not pleasant. So I don't know, like I've always found like schooling, excuse about the traffic outside my house. I've always found school a little bit of a war zone if you look different. And for me, it wasn't an area where I could do creative stuff. So what I did is I just threw myself into doing all the academic stuff to the most extreme way possible. And I'm grateful for that because it taught me a lot in terms of the academic subjects. But when it came to makeup, it didn't. And I just thought, oh God, how can I even how can I be myself and sort of stay safe? So the way I did it was I put all my images down on paper. So every time I had a spare moment, I would create something by sketching it out. And I used to have notepads and notepads and notepads of all my images. And then when I went to my other camera's just beeping at me. Let's pop it on. 1 second. There we go. And then when I went to college, I actually ended up doing an art college, and then I went to do my biochemistry masters. So I went from academic to art, then back to academic. But I didn't ever go to a makeup course. I don't think that you become the best type of artist if you're taught by another artist. I think you can learn from lots of people and pick up things from lots of people. But if you really want to do something different, you have to learn from your mistakes and doing it yourself. There's always makeup artists like Matthew Anderson, who is an amazing makeup artist. He did like TLC No Scrubs and all the RuPaul stuff. He is amazing and shared my work very early on. And I was really, really grateful for that because it put me on the map, really. So I'm just going to add a little bit of more concealment in areas where I think my horrible texture is showing through. So what's your favorite look you've ever created? There's been so many. I think the gender tutorials that I did were so early. People didn't know what to expect, I think. And I wanted to do something that was different. So I think that my favorite stuff is when I talked about facial anatomy and I said, oh, when you go through puberty, your face changes. This is how you can cheat it, or this is how you can make your face look slightly different. Because I still get messages from trans people every day that say, thank you, those images really, really, really inspired me. That I never signed up for. I didn't imagine anyone would feel that way about my stuff. So I've always been really humbled and touched by that because it just doesn't make sense because I put out videos sometimes now just to catch people up with what I'm doing, and I think like, oh, it's a normal amount of people that follow me and blah 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 blah, and then I go back to my old stuff and I'm like, oh my god, like 1 million people watched that video, oh 400,000 people watched that video, and it doesn't seem real, because it's a different world now, isn't it? People think like if you did that on YouTube today, I think people think that's like almost famous or something, but I did not think that when I did it. It was not about that. What makeup artists inspire you? So I really like the artists like Kabuki Starshine, who was a club kid that went to be an amazing editorial makeup artist. I love people like Matthew Anderson, who I mentioned. There are loads really that I could go into that are more sort of like underground. I like loads of people like Ryan Burke, who came from social media, I guess. He does a lot of work with Pat McGrath and things like that. I like all the kind of club kiddie people that have taken it and turned it into something else. So I'm just using some loose powder, and I'm not setting this properly full because I think as we go on, it's just going to look crazy and crazy and crazier because this weather. But just giving something is going to help hold, and we can build from it. Now tell me, what do you guys prefer? Do you guys prefer going in with the naked foundation or the all-nighter? Because I love them both for different reasons. I'm living for the set spray because it also temperature regulates. So let's pray to Jesus this stays on. But yeah. Now, let's go in with the brows. And I've got all my stuff here, which I never get ready in this room, which I think I probably should do because it's much better lighting. But I have the gorgeous double-ended brow. So this is the primer and the colour. So let me tell you, after these lorries go past my house. So I live in the countryside near Brighton, and they're doing this crazy like building thing. So there's all these big lorries that keep going past my house, which is really annoying. Anyway, gonna go in with brows. So I'm gonna be using this colour, and the colour I use is RES 10W. So this is the Urban Decay Brow Endowed. Now, as you can probably see, if I get a little bit closer, my brows sort of go down, they don't go up. So when I think about how I want to sort of shape them, I kind of have to work at a sort of angle, and it kind of tapers around as I go down. I've really got into brow gels in the last year. I really appreciate what they can do. But unfortunately, not everyone's hairs go up. And I know you can get that amazing treatment called lamination, brow lamination. So if you guys have tried that, please write in the comments. But this is definitely one of my favourite products by Urban Decay, because I remember back in the day when I was a kid, I was trying to get all the colourful makeup because they did not used to do all these amazing shades and products. And Urban Decay was like the big standalone in all the department stores, because they used to do all these like colourful vegan things that were like, they did like these big candy floss like shakers that you could eat and things like that. It was just, there was so much cool products, and all the makeup had swords on it, if I'm not mistaken, the lipsticks. It was amazing. So I'm just going to go through that colour side, and hopefully will turn my bleached brows into something fancy. And you can pretty much see as I go through the brows how my hair sort of change. So yeah, I love just doing less is more in this heat. It's just ridiculous, isn't it, how hot it's got? But I am loving it. Now, when I first started to do tutorials, I did not have brows. I actually drew them on hair by hair, and some of my really popular videos were covering the brows or using no brows and painting the hair strokes on. And I actually started to do that because my grandma was going through chemotherapy, which was obviously a horrible experience. And I thought, you know what, there's no one out there showing people how to like make their brows look better. And there was a few tutorials online about how to sort of recreate brows, and I thought, no, these aren't doing anyone any justice. These are just looking like worms. So I started to do tutorials about that, and they were really popular. So I used to have really in detail drawn on hairs, and people used to be like, oh my god, what is that? Is it tattoo? But now I can just mascara them in. But God forbid anything terrible happens and I need to do it again. There are videos up there now for people to find. And you can find all of that stuff at Joseph Harwood. So JOSEPHHARWOOD. Now I've got the shape there, but I want it to be a little bit more thicker. So I'm going to be using some mascara and just getting a little bit more. And I love the Urban Decay Troublemaker. So and this will hopefully ombre a little bit out, but still have that shape. There we go. Then we can clean that up when I go in with the graphic liner in a second. So what is your favourite looks? Do you prefer to do a dramatic look, or do you prefer to do a dramatic lip? So eyes or lips? Because I'm definitely a lip person. I don't love wearing dramatic eyeshadows, I have to say. I used to, but I've worn out the novelty, I think. Right. Love that reminded that what we see on tutorials isn't one size fits all. That's so true. And when I was looking at developing products last year, I wanted to do things that sort of made clear that we all have different face shapes. Because I think sometimes, even when you see images, you're like, but that person doesn't look like me. My nose isn't perfectly straight. I haven't got the same lips. And I always thought like there's room enough for everyone to be creative, as long as it's done well and people are really kind. There's a space for everyone on social media. But it's funny because I do think that social media has changed so much. It's given so many LGBT people a platform for the first time, and I love that. And I'm so proud that I was one of the first people to have done a lot of this stuff, because it's made amazing brands like Urban Decay confident that when they put someone like me on, it's going to be fun. and now other people can be booked. So, got those hairs in. Yeah, I definitely love a thickens brow, graphic line, and a bold lip. I'm going to clean up the shape as we go on. It's so much easier, isn't it? I used to love doing like sort of drawn on brows. Not in this weather. Let's just fix that shape. Okay, do you ever do makeup on other people, or do you prefer doing it on yourself? So I did celebrity makeup for 2.5 years, and I worked with all of the RuPaul Drag Race girls, and I did a lot of magazine covers. I hate doing makeup on other people. I know it probably sounds really bad to say that. I just don't like doing it. I feel like my calling is to create something that's a whole image, whether it be a prop, whether it be a product, whether it be just something different. I don't feel like I'm best served and I can do the best work if what I'm doing is just the makeup. So I love it, but it's not my favourite thing to do, sadly, because I think a lot of people want me to do makeup again, but I'm just a bit more focused on the behind the scenes now. So I'm going to be using this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous palette, and this is, which one is it? The Naked Ultraviolet. And I think when I saw this palette, it really inspired me to do something really iridescent and purpley around the eye, and I wish we had a little bit better weather for it, because I don't think it will stay on. But I'm going to start using Tripping, and simply using the brush that came with the palette. And I'm going to start just laying down a matte base. I think this has got a little bit of satin to it, but for me, in this oil slick weather. There we go. Now I'm going to be using Hacked. And I used to really be insecure about my eyelid shape, because I thought like, oh my God, my eyelids are like double eyelids. And I got, basically as I got older, my eyelids sort of changed. And now I don't mind them so much, because I've got a lot of room to play with all of the shades you can create with makeup. And I always think that that's the best thing to have, is when you have more features to paint. Oh, you guys like the Stay Naked foundation? Do you know what? I used to wear it every single day. I need to start getting into it again, I think, because I do love that product. Now, if you're looking to bring out the eye colour you have, so if you have blue in your eye, look at a colour wheel and think about the undertones. There's different ways of looking at that. You could think about putting an orange around a blue eye, but it's meant to be about your base of your shadow. So if something's got a little bit of red in, it will bring out more green. Something's a little bit more orangey yellow, it will bring out more bluey violets. If you've got brown eyes, you have very lucky 3 colours mixed in one. So you can play with all different types. But with the darker eyes, the best thing to do instead of colour contrast is shade contrast. So using things that bring light, really dramatise a brown or dark eye. My little niece, she's 2, but when she's older, I'm already thinking all the makeup looks we can do. Because she's got gorgeous brown eyes, and we don't have many people in my family with brown eyes. So I'm using the Naked Urban Decay palette, and this is the velvety one. I'm using Buck, which I use all the time, and I'm just simply shading in. It's really, really, really easy, and I think when we're going out and we're celebrating Pride, normally we'd be in a park, we'd be somewhere just doing something fancy outside. We do not want to cover our face in product, because it will literally, it will come off, won't it? There we go. It's so funny seeing myself on a desktop, because I think like I was going to try and do this with my phone, but the connection keeps failing, so I thought, no, let's be safe, not sorry. So let's grab a angle brush, and I'm just going to go in and get that Buck again, and just like slightly darken out where my my brows. And what I'll do is I'll go on my Instagram, so you guys can all follow me. It's at Joseph Harwood. So go on the Instagram and I'll show you how the final look comes together, because this light might be a little bit deceptive. Yeah, my goodness. I was going through one of my old kits because I haven't got my big colourful kit out for quite some time, and thought, oh my god, all the makeup things I could do if it was just a little bit cooler. But there you go. Hey guys. Hey Natasha. Do you have any tips for starting out on social media? That's a good question. I mean, I don't know what people want to achieve with their social media, because it's been kind of, it's become similar to what people do in their sort of like careers. If they want to be a singer or they want to be an actor, like people think that social media is the way to do it. I wanted to be an artist, so I didn't think about things like that. I just wanted to be myself and see people like myself doing jobs that I thought we could do. I'm not really sure, because there's so much content out there now, isn't there? There's so much that people have done. There's so much that people can just find, that trying to find something new, which I always think is so important, is so hard to do. But that is the key. You always have to be fresh. You always have to think about how I can do something different. And I don't know, I think trying something new for the first time is always a great way to start. If you can't find something, that's a signal that you should probably do it. Right, so now I'm going to go in with the waterproof fine point eye pen, and we're going to go into the eyelid. Simply draw across a thin line, and then as we go to the outside, I'm going to stretch out like so. Connect. And then just wait for it to dry. Now that probably looked a little bit like simpler than I made it. I made it look easier than it is, because I know people struggle with the eye. But sometimes there's a trick you can do. So if you have, for example, if you have, if you want it to be symmetrical, all you have to do is use your concealer as a sort of guiding line first. So if you wanted to just draw a quick line with concealer, look in the mirror, does it match up? And then we can go in. And that'll do. And then I want to add some of that gorgeous glitter. Like, I love this product. I have to say it's one of my favourite eyeliners I've used. Like that. So if you do have trouble with that, I would say go in with something a little bit softer, maybe like one of the darker shadows in your naked palette. I'm actually going to go in with some glitter over the top, so I don't want it to look too perfect, because I want the glitter to really sparkle. So I'm going to be using the Heavy Metals, and this is in Punk Rock. And I'm really excited because I'm doing a lot of images that are kind of punk inspired. I think everyone's feeling a little bit political, what's going on in the world at the moment. And I just feel the need to do something. So I'm going to start just by layering some glitter over the top. And I'm going to use this almost like a glue, because I've got a little bit more glitter. In fact, I'll save that for the lips. We'll do something fancy for the lips. So I'm just going to lay it over the top. See, these are like literally a staple in every colourful makeup artist kit, isn't it? The glitter on the lid with these heavy metals. Gorgeous. So, more questions. I have blue eyes and always use pinky corals. That's a great tip. Pinky corals have got those undertones that really bring out the gorgeousness of a blue eye. So I'm going to map down what we've got. Like so. And the best thing about Urban Decay foundations that I really like is that you can layer them. So if you feel like you need a touch up, like I feel like I do, we can just use a mix, get our sponges, and just smooth out. It's so funny as well because I thought like, oh my God, if I was actually going to the events, I had a few Pride events, but this year, it was just going to be a disaster. I think this whole year was going to be crazy for, there was something weird in the air. Were you guys feeling this? Because I thought at the time, I was like, something's not going to happen when I got all this stuff, because I was meant to be doing a lot of the Prides around the country or something. And I was like, this isn't going to happen. I just don't feel like this is going to happen. And it hasn't. So it's a bit annoying, but what can we do? Because we have to keep busy. We have to keep things going and try and make the best of it. And I think the benefit of social media is even when we're at home, we're doing this kind of thing, we can really use our platforms to spread messages of hope and share young LGBT people's stories, and it's amazing. So I'm going to be going in with the lips next, and I'm going to be using Perversion. I probably won't speak when I do this, but I really wanted to do a massive glitter lip. Now, the way I do a glitter lip is start off with the black. Now, the reason why is because black is the best base to bring out glitter. Now, I'm using an angle brush. The reason for that is because I think you can get an easy line. And then smoothing the product down. Now, this is a really amazing lipstick. I'm sure you guys have tried it. But I'm not using it to its full potential, because what we're going to do is we're going to layer up with shadow. And if we make any mistakes, we can go back in with our concealer and just buff out. And that's the best thing about makeup. Don't take it too seriously. You can do anything you like with it. So with that basic wash of colour, I'm going to be using Creep. Now, Creep is in this palette and I love it because it's got a little bit of a sheen to it. So starting across the outside with a dense brush, we're going to be setting this through, and this works so much better in hot weather. And this way, if you are on the go, simply just pop on some Vaseline. Once the line of this is set, you'll be fine. Right, then we're going to clean up the outside. Good, we've got our base on. Now, secret with glitter. If you're going to use glitter, you can actually use a liquid lipstick, and I'm going to layer over with Crank. like that. And then I was thinking about what glitter I could use, because I had this like really cool chunky glitter. I had all this kind of like loose stuff in my kit that I thought I could play with, but I had this weird one which is like a brown. So I'm going to use this brown glitter and just stick it to that liquid lipstick as it's drying. So we've got our purple, we've got our brown, we need some green and blue. It's going to really make it look like a peacock feather. But sometimes I think you can get a little bit lost in translation when you put loads of colours in. So I was thinking maybe I could try and use something with a blue shimmer in. So I think there's a colour in this one, the Lucid colour. So if you apply a demi sort of metallic or something with a duochrome to it over a black, it will bring out the kind of sheen. So let's see how it goes. Oh, is it blue? I think it is. So I'm just going to go along the top. That's gorgeous, isn't it? Next, I'm going to be using a little bit of the punk rock glitter. I'm just going to pull this all together slightly more. I'm not that I want fake lips, but I'm kind of jealous of people that have fake lips because they don't dry out, do they, as much? You can definitely do like lip art on lips that have been enhanced a little bit easier, I think. So, where's my concealer brush? Now, I think I want to add a little bit more depth, so I'm going to go in with Conspiracy. And then I want something purpley in the middle, so I think I'm going to be using the Studio, the liquid metal. Now, I do like that blue, but I think it's a bit overkill, so I'm going to go back in, I think, with the eyeshadow. Gorgeous. Now, the worst thing is, though, we're going with these amazing, amazing glitters, and you think, oh my God, how is that ever going to stay on? So the trick is to use your loose powder as your touch-up concealer. So I'm going to be using the Stay Naked The Fix in 30W. And I love, love, love these. Gorgeous. Maybe if I'm a particular lunatic, I might add some more there. And I think we need a little bit of blue on the bottom. You see, when you get me started with this colour, I was a bit like, okay, we need more. So let's go in with that Lucid shade. We there? I think we're kind of there. Because you always think when you look at like those oil spill images, they have like reds, they have browns, they have purples. And then a touch of that, and then I'll stop. Like so. Right, I'm just going to leave that there to cook, I think, because I need a little bit of something, because my skin is getting very, very warm in this gorgeous weather, but still very frustrating weather for makeup, isn't it? I thought, do you know what, it'll be fabulous. I'll do a wet look hairdo, it will all be great. So, let's go in with some mascara. So, I always go back to that mascara, but where have we done it? We used it in the brows. Gorge. So we're going to be using the Troublemaker mascara, and I'm just going to apply it to the top. Now, if you have straight lashes, I definitely recommend you guys curling them first, because it helps tremendously. And even if they're warm, so using a hairdryer, I mean, in this weather, do we need to? Oh, I love it already. Mascara is my favorite for finishing. And just adding as much mascara as we need. I'm a fan of this lip, I have to say. Right, do we have any? Would spraying the brush with setting spray prior to adding the glitter to the lip work the same? Now, setting spray does something very clever. It stops you being too affected by heat. It's very clever stuff, but I would actually use more of a glitter glue base, because the glitter glue has got some adhesion to it that one does not. Now, we can keep on perfecting this. I think that this would look really cute with some freckles, actually. So I think we're going to add some fake freckles, and then I could be here all day adding more and more and more. So if I get a very mini brush, so I've actually got this brush that was a paintbrush. If you guys can see, it's very, very fine. And because of the hotness, I think everyone wants to look glowy and gorgeous, I'm going to be using the 50NN. This is the Stay Naked The Fix powder. So I'm going to be using a darker shade than what I've got. And I'm just going to go in with my little paintbrush. And putting back some of the freckles that I took out with the makeup. So what do you guys think about freckles? I think they're such a cute addition to people's makeup look. Like so. Really, really cute. Very simple but effective. Now, my final finishing touch is with all my makeup, and that is a rule, and it's not something that I would say everyone needs to do, but it's something that I like to do. And normally it would be just making sure the face is set with powder, but there's no hope in this weather. It's just going to look ridiculous. So I actually use that buck colour, and I use it religiously, because with my hairline kind of goes up on one side. So what I do is I get a brush, and kind of like a chunky brush, and I kind of pat into my hairline a little bit like this, and then I sculpt over the makeup I've done to kind of fake in a different color. And this is great if you're light and blonde or you have roots. So I always try and keep it as natural as possible, so I kind of blend it out with concealers as I go. But it just finishes the look off in a border, if you will. Oh, I like this. It looks really cute. And I wish I could have, maybe I can ask Urban Decay, I can give you a proper, colourful extravaganza when the weather gets a little bit more wearable for that type of look. But do you know what? If we're going to be in our gardens having a cute barbecue, we're not going to be in full drag, are we? Unless we are completely deranged. So I'm going to be using that gorgeous powder in the 50W. And I'm just using it to add some colour. Now, do you guys have any questions as I'm going? Because I love to wrap up with some final questions. And then I kind of like the glow. I think it works with everything, but I'm just going to be using my lighter shade, which is the 30WY. And maybe some more mascara. Are we feeling lashes today? Maybe we could add some lashes. I think the oil spill lip is definitely enough. And I think maybe some finishing touches to the eye. I'd like to add a little bit of a line, I think, here. Just a sort of dull-like eye crease. Just a tiny bit. I don't want to go too crazy because I think we're not really there today. We're going to do simple. And maybe I think a little bit on my lip. Just a little finishing touch. Where's that blue again? I think I need a little bit of that blue. Gorgeous. Now, could we finish with some gloss, or will that destroy all our hard work? I would say sometimes I would caution with gloss because gloss can be a slick and it can remove itself. So instead of doing that, let's add some Disco Daydream to the inner corner here. I tend to go down because I've got sleepy eyes, so I like to kind of like lift them back that way, if you know what I'm saying. And then we can probably add a little bit. So this is how I do makeup. I start off with one idea and it goes into something else, and I'm just like, oh, let's add more, let's add more. So I'm going to add a little bit of Naked just under the lower eyelid. And that's a great tip if you guys get lines in your concealer, just using a colour like Naked. If you're my colour, if you're dark, obviously you can use something else. Just going to straighten the nose somewhat with that same colour. Gorgeous. I'm really liking that. Right, let's have a look. Love, love, love. Thank you, darling. Do you have any tips of being more bold with lips? I either do nude or red. I would say have fun. If you have a day to just play, go ahead and have fun with it. Like, what's going to hurt? But you do get to be like one of those people like me where you just can't leave it. You have to keep on tweaking and adding more to it. I like that. I think this is something you would see kind of in a beauty editorial as one look. I wanted to do a slick back hair look because I saw loads of gorgeous girls on Instagram with some slicked back wet look hair, wet look skin, and a bold lip. So I thought for this type of day, even though I would have loved to give you full extravaganza, there's no hope in hell that it would have stayed on in this heat. Maybe we could add a little bit more to the lid, I think. Let's go along like that. One day I'd love to do a palette for Urban Decay or something fabulous, because it just would be such a dream come true, because they've got such a brilliant colour spectrum that there's so much fun to have, isn't there? Petrol lips. And if you noticed, I brought my petrol coloured top to match. So I'm very happy with it. I think there's one sheen here that looks a little bit perfect. Kind of modelly, right? Right, any tips on putting lashes on? 3 months practicing and I'm still rubbish. Well, I could give you that tip, so I've got some right here. So the trick, if you are struggling with lashes, now I have these genius tweezers. They're by a lady called Barbara Carranza, but they're like at the side, if you see. So if I take off one of these lashes, these are just some generic lashes. And what happens is I've got really big eyes, so they tend to fit straight away. But what people don't realize is lashes are actually really, really, really wide. They're much longer than you actually need. So what I tend to do is I tend to cut them in half, maybe into thirds. And if you've just got them like, let me show you. If I snip it there, so you've broken it into 2 parts, okay? Now, all you do is you get some glue. I use some black glue because it helps to make the roots look thicker, and also it kind of, I don't know, I think it's funny with the see-through white glues, there's different varieties on there that you get. Some that's more plasticky, some that's more latexy, and they're all a bit of a pain because they're unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen with it. But I put that much glue on, if you can see, it barely coats. Then with my little tweezers, it really fits the section I'm putting on, and it just slots on top like so. In fact, I think we've got to do that on both, don't we? We can't just leave it like that. So instead of actually going in with the whole lash, try just doing it bit by bit. And you can also layer them up, which looks a lot thicker. When you kind of overlap them with your remaining piece, you don't have the issue of trying to wiggle it onto the right shape because you're actually doing it section by section. So it's a lot simpler to do. And also, don't use that much glue. I think people are really scared that they're not putting on enough because it's not sticking. But you don't need that much glue. You're putting a tiny thing on, a tiny area. It just needs to grab along the line. And people often say, wait for 30 minutes. And 30 minutes, you'd be there all night, wouldn't you? Wait for 30 seconds. It really isn't necessary. You can do it straight away, but you need to be confident that you haven't loaded them with glue. So if I just show you with the remaining piece, which is just snipped in half, I'm going to go along the line with the glue. Got them with my tweezers. And it's overlapping. You can see. So I'm just going to finish the other side off. Tiny layer of glue. And then pop it on, and if you can see with my eyes, because my eyes are slightly different shapes, you just wiggle it on, and like that. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And as you're maneuvering it, the glue is drying, so you're getting a grip. And then you just sort of squeeze them on like that. Now that is the easiest way. And when you're finished, do not apply your mascara straight away because you can take off them. You take them off by accident, which is not what you want to do. But if it's dry, and I think this is just a little bit dry enough to do so, I'm Go back in with your mascara. And there you go. Now, I think I'm going to add a hat to my look, because I have one here. I thought we could do a sort of a fabulous look. Maybe there. Do we need the strap? I think we need the strap. Let's put the strap away. And I think one more thing, just to be fancy, because we're Pride. I'm going to get that gorgeous blue that we've used from that ultraviolet palette. If I go down, you might be able to see the sheen of it a little bit clearer. I'm going to do some highlight. Now, if I put this light down like this, there we go. I think that's a bit better. Should I have done it with the lights down like that to begin with? You tell me. And you can probably see the colour. There we go. So let's go through. Thank you so much. These look amazing. Where do I get those tweezers? Oh, well, you can use any tweezers, or you can actually makeshift your own from a little brush. You can use the end of a brush. There is one old school trick, which is you use your eyelash curlers to squish them on your actual lashes. And if I just pull my lash down like that, should have a nice look. I think I do need one more thing, actually. I'm probably taking up all the time, but I'm getting to an hour, which is the plan. So, where did I put the bloody things? Where are... There they are. So we're going to use our powder. I should have probably put the light down a little bit. It probably would have been easier to see some of the detail. I think we just need to have a little bit in the middle. We need a little bit of nose correction here. So I'm using that product here. Smooth in. And then with that blue, gorgeous colour, the Lucid colour, like so. So thank you guys. I really hope you like that. This is what I'm going to call an oil slick Pride theme makeup. And I don't know if I was going to do something. I had this like weird thing that I've got out of Pride, which has got all these crayons in that you guys can recreate with all of the amazing things. But I thought, you know what, let's just do a Pride. Ooh. Did it work? There we go. So we've got some gorgeous glowing skin, we've got natural brows because it's suitable for this weather, we've got some slightly graphic eye, and we have an oil spill lip which combines all of the glitter products that you'd find from the heavy metals to the eyeshadows. And you know, I think a horse is going past my door. Never know what's going to happen here. So there you go, guys. Thank you so much. So my name is Joseph Harwood. I hope you all enjoyed that. You can find me all over social media at Joseph Harwood. My Instagram is at Joseph Harwood. So please follow me there. And also don't forget to celebrate Pride. I'm sure a lot of you are in the similar situation. You're in lockdown. You're expecting to be out and about and having fun and playing with makeup and being colourful. But we can take these platforms and opportunities to really share messages of hope and fun and experiment. And maybe if you're nervous about trying new looks, you can actually try something fabulous today. So thank you guys. Hopefully you all enjoyed it, and I will see you all soon. Thank you, Urban Decay. Oh, also I did 4 images inspired by the great Japanese artist Pater Sato, and you guys can find them also